Good morning. Welcome to Unity in Lynnwood's on this Mother's Day morning. I'm Barbara Thorpe, prayer chaplain. We are blessed by your presence, whether in person or virtually. I invite you to gently close your eyes and breathe into your sacred sanctuary, the sanctuary of your being. See your heart area opening and expanding as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, you release all concerns. As you breathe in, you become more comfortable and aware of your sacred self, your divine nature, your God self. From this sacred place, we acknowledge our mothers, whether she is near or far, whether she's left this planet. She birthed you or chose you. We expand our awareness to all those who mothered us, nurtured us. Maybe it was a teacher, a friend's mother, an aunt, a grandmother, or your father. Open to all the ways you were nurtured on this life journey. Thank them for the blessings and the learning. On this Mother's Day, we honor all mothers, the bearers of life. Thank them for life. Hold all this in the silence. In the silence. I invite you to gently come back to this time and place. Move your feet a little bit. Be grateful and appreciative of all those who nurtured you on your life journey. We send love and blessings to mothers all over the world. May they be nurtured and nourished. We bless all who join in community today and those on their way. We send love and appreciation to the numerous volunteers that serve with joy. We give thanks for Reverend Nina, Dr. Richard, and Matthew as they speak and sing this morning, enriching our lives. And so it is. Happy Mother's Day.
Mother, sing through me. Mother, play a song so sweetly with these hands. Let me see with your vision. Let me feel with your boundless heart. Through these feet of mine walk the earth, and with my life give birth. Moonlight comforts me, starry nights I feel myself alive. Silent friend comes to me when I'm still, very still. She comes to me inside, and she whispers, serve the mother, she'll take care of everything. Serve the mother, she'll take care of everything. Serve the mother, she'll take care of everything. Serve the mother. Serve the mother, she'll take care of everything. Serve the mother. Serve the mother, she'll take care of everything. 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 Mother, sing through me. Mother, play a song so sweetly with these hands. Holy Mother, my heart longs to be free. Holy Mother, dissolve me into thee. Holy Mother, Holy Mother, dissolve me into thee. Holy Mother, please purify my mind. Holy Mother, let me feel your love divine. Holy Mother, please purify my mind. Holy Mother, let me feel your love divine. Holy Mother, hold my hand within your hand. Holy Mother, let me feel all that I am. Holy Mother, hold my hand within your hand. Holy Mother, let me feel all that I am. Holy Mother, my heart longs to be free. Holy Mother, dissolve me into thee. Dissolve me into thee. Dissolve me into thee.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Unity in Lynnwood. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. It's a joy to see you. Someone wonderful this past week asked me about prayer. And it was a rich and inspiring conversation. And in that conversation, I essentially suggested that which elevates consciousness is prayer. So for those who need an anthropomorphic, even male deity on a cloud, if that elevates consciousness, then it's prayer. For those who need a pantheon of God figures, if that elevates consciousness, then it's prayer. For those who need a walk in nature, for those who delight in the music of Rachmaninoff, for those who relate to an intellectual, linear, multi-step prayer process, if it elevates consciousness, then it's prayer. So take a deep breath. Let me invite you into my consciousness elevating discipline for today. Let me invite you into my prayer. My prayer does not presume a reluctant, distant deity whose giving will increase based upon my carefully chosen words. Rather, my prayer assumes a God of infinite givingness. It presumes a God ever pressing of itself into its creation. Therefore, my prayer work does not ask, how can I get God to do more, to be more? But rather, how might I become a more ready vessel for everything I hold God to be? So for my prayer practice this morning, I turn to that limiting thought. I become willing to set it aside. I turn to that seemingly irreconcilable situation. And I set that conclusion aside. I turn even from my stubborn, self-righteous position and I become willing to set that aside. Perhaps it can be said that as my spiritual practice this morning, I open my fists and I offer life something of an open hand. Trusting that which I call God knows what it's doing in all of its creation, and that includes me. So I entered into this next time of consideration with the blinders of my remembered past, the blinders of my imagined future stripped away. I am now fully here. I am fully softened. I am wildly available. And it is from this consciousness that I now can say, use me, that I now can say, thy will be done. I am here. I am ready. And so it is. And amen. It was in conversation with 6 teenagers this past week that Stacy received the following. She said, we get so excited when we see that we get to be at Unity in Lynnwood. It's such a beautiful space. We feel so welcome here. It feels so peaceful here. It is such a nice place to pray. This was offered by 16s from the Zainab Center who shared the holy month of Ramadan in our physical space. For the beauty of Stacy's ministry of welcome and inclusion, should you see her today, give her a little smile, please, or maybe even a thank you, or a, dare I say it, even a hug. If you'd like to pray with someone following the conclusion of this time together, Unity in Lynnwood offers trained prayer chaplains who are in eager support of you. Those on duty, eager to meet with you today will now raise their hands that you might identify them. I see Janet in the back. I see Barbara in the back. Prayer chaplains, thank you for your gifts of service. Always only one. It is the book of prayers that was authored by your own associate minister, Reverend Nina Clark. It has now been through 2 printings, and there are 3 copies left. If you would like one of the 3 copies, visit Unity in Lynnwood's gift shop. If you do not desire one of the 3 copies, visit the gift shop anyway. It's a great, great place of inspiration and education. I promise you that. Candy will be delighted to meet your every need, to answer your every question, to address any life challenge. No, I'm teasing. But Candy would be delighted to assist you today. Words of invocation. Take these however you will, whether that be aloud or silently with your voice or with mine. Our words of invocation read thusly: though imaged and named variously, there is a singular and eternal ground of being from which all life emanates and into which all life retreats. We choose to call this ground of being God. By extension, we come to understand that we are spiritual in nature, human in expression, and limitless in potential. We gather today to remember such truths, to celebrate our unity, and to honor all life. And so it is. And amen. If you are a member of our virtual sanctuary today and you desire to pray with someone, please know that this is available to you as well. Start the process by writing prayer at unityinlynnwood.org. Include a working telephone number and expect a call from an anonymous number shortly after noon. She began a series based upon the New York Times best-selling book Untethered Soul last Sunday. This is the second of her 3 installments. Will you welcome your associate minister, please? Her name is Reverend Nina Clark.
Oh, hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, I'm going to keep going. So when we schedule me to talk, it's usually a couple months out. And so I don't always know what is going to land on what day. And so I'm going to say Happy Mother's Day first, and then I'm going to let you know what I'm going to talk about. So Happy Mother's Day. Today I'm going to talk about fear and pain. And I confess to feeling feeling a little bit like how Brené Brown says that she feels when she announces to people that she's a shame researcher. I kind of expect the same kind of response. So anyway, Michael Singer teaches that the purpose of spiritual evolution is to cause our fear. And the removal of these often causes discomfort. He says if it went in with pain, it'll come out with pain. Doesn't that sound like fun? And because likely the voice in your head right now is saying, no. I'd like to share with you my why for why I believe this inner work is so important and why I'm so diligent about it in my own life. Our teachings hold that our outer world is sustained by our consciousness, not the physical world, but our culture, our societies, our relationships to other human beings. And I imagine that right about now, all of us are shaking our heads at current events in the world. We may not be shaking our heads for the same reasons, or even at the same events, depending on our personal or political perspective. But I think pretty much all of us are shaking our heads. And when I say shaking our heads, I say that to cover a wide range of responses that people are having, ranging probably from anger to despair. But the fact that we are sitting in this particular building on this particular day of the week, in this particular community, in this particular divine idea that we call unity in Lynnwood, it says to me that in spite of our differences, we are all in alignment with each other, and that we all want a kinder world, and a more peaceful world, and a more love-filled world. When we dabble in the world of effects alone, the changes enacted won't last because our collective consciousness can't sustain them. And this holds true on a personal level as well. When we dabble in the effects of our own personal world, the changes enacted don't hold because our consciousness can't sustain them. It might look like it's holding for a little bit, but they don't last. They're not enduring. For example, think about that annual lineup for the gym on January 1st that lapses by January 15th or March 1st. And then for some particular individual, something shifts inside, and the commitment to take better care of our body suddenly just comes more easily. Someone wanting to quit smoking, for example, and they do so again and again and again, only to pick up the cigarette again and again and again, and then something shifts inside, and they simply never reach for another cigarette again. When the shift happens in consciousness, it can be sustained in the outer world, whether it's our personal outer world or the greater society. Ernest Holmes writes, "The science does not promise something for nothing. It does, however, tell us that if we comply with the law complies with us. No man can demonstrate peace and cling to unhappiness. He can demonstrate resignation and call it peace, but it will not be peace." Principle is principle. It works from the inside out. And if we want a better world, a kinder world, a more peaceful world, it starts inside. And this bears fruit because we are more than congregants that show up here on a Sunday morning. We are teachers and doctors and corporate executives. We are politicians and business owners. We are laborers and waitresses, and we are parents and friends. Our lives touch other lives. This work that we do is so important because it influences our circles, which in turn influence other circles. When we clear our limitations, when we clear the pain that's within us, when we clear our own fears and our need to defend our self-concepts, this influences the circles that we move in. So let's recap, and then we'll jump into this new material together. Last Sunday, Michael Singer started our journey by laying a foundational step of know thyself. He teaches that we are not our self-concepts, not our thoughts, not our emotions, not our beliefs, not our body, not that annoying voice in our heads. We are conscious awareness. And there is a boundless source of spiritual energy that we have full access to if we will allow ourselves to claim it. And when we know ourselves as conscious awareness, then we can take a step back and be aware of ourselves as observer, because now we know who or what is doing the stepping back. He also talked about energy centers within us that you are likely familiar with as chakras. And these focus and distribute this flow of spiritual energy throughout our energy system by opening and closing. And when our chakras close, we can feel constricted, sad, or lethargic. And when they are open, we can feel expansive and free and full of energy. As events happen in the world around us, they enter through our senses as energy and impact our inner state of being. When this happens, and the pain of an old memory gets stimulated, or when our self-concept is threatened, our awareness gets drawn to it like a whirlpool, sucked right in, and we close to protect that tender or weak part of ourselves. And when we do this, we also restrict the free flow of that spiritual energy within us. That energy is still there, it's always there, but it can't get through our blocks. We close our hearts because we believe it keeps us safe. But closing our heart really doesn't protect us from anything. It just cuts us off from that infinite source of energy and prohibits us from growing. What's more, the conditions we place on what we need in order to stay open limit our being open only when those conditions are being met. And that is a really narrow place to live. We have given our power away, and we create a life of suffering. We are either trying to stop suffering, or we're trying to control our environment to avoid suffering, or we're worrying about suffering in the future. Singer tells us that the prerequisite to true freedom lies in the decision to no longer suffer. And he writes, and I quote, "Every day we bear a burden that we should not be bearing. We fear that we are not good enough or that we will fall. We experience insecurity, anxiety, and self-consciousness. We fear that people will turn on us or take advantage of us or stop loving us. All of these things burden us tremendously. And as we try to have open and loving relationships, and as we try to succeed and express ourselves, there is an inner weight that we carry. And this weight is the fear of experiencing pain, anguish, or sorrow. Every day, we are either feeling it or we are protecting ourselves from feeling it. It is such a core influence that we don't even realize how prevalent it is." And he's not the only one to say this. Norman Vincent Peale, in his book, The Power of Positive Thinking, and FYI, Mandy Arwin is facilitating a book study on this book on Sundays at 3 p.m., and I highly recommend it. Peale puts it this way: everywhere you encounter people who are inwardly afraid, who shrink from life, who suffer from a deep sense of inadequacy and insecurity, who doubt their own powers. Always they are beset by the vague and sinister fear that something is not going to be quite right. They do not believe that they have it in them to be what they want to be. And so they try to make themselves content with something less than that of which they are capable. A couple of weeks ago, I listened to a talk by Unity Minister Richard Mirage, and he mentioned that everyone has at least a little bit of insecurity in them. And I thought, wait a minute, everyone? And then I remembered a time when I was working backstage at an event where the presenter was a very well-known, very powerful, dynamic speaker who we would never, ever, 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 ever ever, ever, ever think that she would have 1 ounce of insecurity. But after this person completed their talk and left the stage, the first question they asked me was, did I do a good job? Do you think they liked it? Many of us live with a kind of constant, gnawing, emotional pain, a sadness, a heartache, or an old shame deep down inside of us. And we're so used to it that we may not notice it anymore, but we still find ourselves utilizing numbing behaviors like mindless entertainment or alcohol or food or even exercise in order to not feel that pain that we hold deep in our hearts. We live our lives avoiding this pain at all costs. This deeply held pain prevents us from living a fuller life, and it stops that flow of spiritual energy from surging through us with vitality, life force energy, love, and abundance and creativity. So yeah, all of us, we all have this stuff inside of us. It kind of comes with the ticket we punch when we agree to take human form. And it's the same stuff that gets in the way when we do our affirmative prayer work. Many of us, when we start our affirmative prayer work, find that this stuff comes up. We think it shouldn't. We think, the prayer work should just override it. But we find that it comes up. And we talk about this, in Unity, we talk about this as chemicalization. And it's in there, so it does come up. But we don't have to live in that stuff, and it doesn't have to be that way. Ernest Holmes, author of Science of Mind and founder of what is now Centers for Spiritual Living, writes, "We have just as much freedom to eliminate fear as we have in creating it. Worry, crisis, and anxiety seem to plague most people, often to the extent that life is something to be suffered through rather than to be lived with joy. And this does not mean that we shall ever be free of all problems, but rather that life and living present a continual challenge which we should learn to master instead of allowing it to master us." Unity and New Thought teach us that the reason that we don't express more of our Christ nature more fully in our life experience is due to a deep unconscious belief that we are separate from the all that is. We teach that our work is to rout out those old beliefs and limited thinking in order to allow a greater flow of love, of life, of abundance in all its forms to express through and as us. Michael Singer concurs, and he writes that the purpose of spiritual evolution is to remove the blockages that cause your fear. Norman Vincent Peale says, "Get a competent counselor to help you understand why you do what you do. Learn the origin of your inferiority and self-doubt feelings, which often begin in childhood. Self-knowledge leads to a cure." I invite you to take a breath. Reverend Michael Beckwith says it this way: "Every improvement in your life is not a gain. Every improvement in your life is actually eliminating a lie that you're telling yourself about yourself. So every appearance of gain is actually a letting go of something." Singer further tells us that if we don't remove these blockages, then our alternative is to protect our blockages so that we don't have to feel fear. But to do that, we will have to try and control the world around us and everything in it so that it doesn't trigger our fear or threaten our self-concept. Again, he writes, "The exploration of self is inextricably interwoven with the unfolding of one's life. The natural ups and downs of life can either generate personal growth or create personal fears. Which of these dominates is completely dependent upon how we view change. Change can either be viewed as exciting or frightening. But regardless of how we view it, we must all face the fact that change is the very nature of life. And if you have a lot of fear, You won't like change. You'll try to create a world around you that is predictable, controllable, and definable. You'll try to create a world that doesn't stimulate your fears. So you utilize the mind in an attempt to manipulate life for the purpose of not feeling fear. Michael teaches that when our energy is blocked, it can't come up and nourish our hearts, and then they become weak. And a weak heart is more susceptible to lower vibrations. And one of the lowest of all vibrations is fear. Fear is the cause of every problem, he says. It's the root of all prejudices and the negative emotions of anger, jealousy, and possessiveness. And when we are filled with fear, the events of life invariably stimulate it. And so, he says, we gave our minds an impossible job to do. We gave our minds the job of fixing all of our problems by manipulating the world in order to not feel our fear. We've told our minds to make sure that people like us, that we fit in with others, that no one hurts us, and that nothing happens that we don't like. We want everyone to be the way we want them to be. Does that resonate with anybody? And by the way, dear mind, I'd like you to do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And the mind, being obedient, does just this. And that's why that voice, that annoying little voice, goes nonstop in your head all the time, just trying to protect us from everything that makes us uncomfortable or threatens to touch a painful place inside. Got another deep breath. The first step on the path to liberation is to face these inner disturbances. The key is not to be quiet, not to quiet the mind. The mind's going to do what the mind does, but to be quiet and observe the mind's antics. We are the indwelling being. We practice not getting sucked into the mind by remembering that we are the conscious awareness that is aware of the mind, that is experiencing the mind babbling on and on. Begin with the little things. Someone says something that hurts your feelings. Just sit back and watch your mind take off. Observe the stories it tells, the how hurt you are, the how dare they, the justifications for the judgments, the how could anybody say something like that, the plan that it constructs as to how to handle it and the what you should do about it. Don't try to stop it. Just watch it. Just be aware that you're aware of it. Michael Singer teaches this is how we begin to learn to release ourselves from its hold on us. He also encourages us to practice presence by setting reminder points throughout the day. For example, every time you get in or get out of the car, or at every stoplight, or every time you get ready to pick up the phone or go through a door, we stop and remind ourselves that we are conscious awareness. And this practice creates moments of centered consciousness throughout our day, and eventually we'll be in that centered place more and more often. Over a period of time, a shift in the energy of our heart will no longer pull us out, but will remind us, oh, we're already in that seat of consciousness watching, rather than serving to remind us to scramble back there. Once we're to that spot, he says, we are well on our way. Once you can face your disturbances, Singer tells us, you will realize that there is a layer of pain seated deep in the core of your heart that we've just not processed. And this pain is so uncomfortable and so challenging and so destructive to the individual self that your entire life is spent avoiding it. Your entire personality is built upon ways of being, thinking, acting, and believing that were developed in order to avoid this pain. Additionally, our attempts to avoid this pain creates layers of sensitivities that are linked to that core pain. For example, if the feeling of rejection is deeply uncomfortable for us. We will fear experiences that either cause rejection or that we feel might cause rejection. And so then, or something that might cause us rejection in the future. So even something as simple as the dog not coming when we call him after a difficult day at work can cause us to feel that even the dog doesn't love us. If you're doing something to avoid pain, then the pain is running your life. All of your thoughts and feelings will be affected by your fears. Singer says that pain is the price of freedom. In his words, one of the essential requirements for true spiritual growth and deep personal transformation is coming to peace with pain. No expansion or evolution can take place without change. And periods of change are not always comfortable. Change involves challenging what is familiar to us and daring to question our traditional needs for safety, comfort, and control. And this is often perceived as a painful experience. Once we see this to be true, then we have two choices. We can continue as we have, manipulating the outer world in order to not feel pain, or we can decide to release or integrate that pain. Continuing as is the path of suffering. Choosing to release is the path of liberation. The only way out is through. Every time that we choose to open instead of close, to relax and release and step back into that seat of consciousness and just observe, a piece of that pain leaves forever. The knower, the intelligence, the wisdom of which we are an emanation, knows exactly what to do. We just need to get out of the way. Singer closes by saying, if you want to be free, you must first accept that there is pain in your heart. You have stored it there. And there is also tremendous joy, beauty, love, and peace within you. But they are often on the other side of that pain. On the other side of the pain is ecstasy. On the other side is freedom. And your true greatness hides on the other side of that layer of pain. You must be willing to accept pain in order to pass through to the other side. Just accept that it's in there and that you're going to feel it. Accept that if you relax, it will have its moment before your awareness, and then it will pass. It always does. In truth, he says, pain is the price of freedom. And the moment you are willing to pay that price, you will no longer be afraid. The moment that you're not afraid of pain, you'll be able to face all of life's situations without fear. To find the presence of God within you, all of this stored pain must go. This is the core of spiritual work. So I'd like to invite you to do our work together, and let's birth a freer self and thus a kinder world. Happy Mother's Day. And for those of you who would like to take this work deeper, I invite you to join a group of us who are meeting for the next 5 Tuesdays. It is now a hybrid group at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays. And we are going to take this work in an experiential way, discuss it, talk about it, and do the practices that he suggests. And you can go, if you're interested, go ahead and sign up on the calendar page. So, will you now join me for a time of meditation? And I invite you to start meditation today with your eyes open for a moment. But go ahead and settle into your seat. Get comfortable and take a really nice deep breath. And breathe all the way down into your abdomen. Let that breath tell your body, it's all okay. We're safe. Everything's good right here. And just allow yourself with your eyes to just notice. Notice the chairs. Notice the people in the room. Notice the trees outside, the rain. And notice that you are not that. You are that which is noticing that. That which is doing the seeing. That which sees the cars in the parking lot and the windows in the wall. Sees me up here standing. Sees Richard at the piano. You are that which sees. And now I invite you to go ahead and close your eyes and place your attention on your ears and see what you're hearing right now. Sound of the piano, the sound of my voice, maybe the patter of rain outside, someone coughing or a rustle in a chair. And just notice that you are the one noticing. You are the indwelling spirit. You are the conscious awareness that is noticing that. Now, perhaps notice any body sensations that you might be experiencing. And notice that you are not them. You are the one noticing them. Notice the feel of the cool air on your hands or on your face. Notice that hair that falls against your cheek or hangs in your eye. If there's any discomfort in your body, just notice it. You are not that discomfort. You are the one experiencing it. And with each of these noticings, notice if you are settling a little more deeply into that seat of consciousness. And in so doing, you are coming to know yourself just a little bit more. This is who you are. This is who you are, an emanation of the one life, the one power, the one presence. That love, that wisdom, that intelligence is who and what you are, sitting in your seat of consciousness, experiencing sensations and sounds and sights, experiencing life. And so it is.
I look at her and she's nervous. Thank you, Reverend Nina Clark. Yeah, absolutely. You're more than welcome to acknowledge the depth of her. I wrote a card. I call it a giving card. It's available to you at the Welcome and Information Station. I'd like to read from it at this time. I wrote it. I would like to read it. That sounds like a very egotistical thing to admit before this proud audience today. It's written as follows. We often speak of God as a natural order of things, or a flow that knows what it's doing. As such, we are simultaneously both inlets and outlets for that natural order, or for that flow, whether expressed in tangible or intangible ways. Said another way, the spiritual universe is really quite fluid and reciprocal. Hence the common temptations of greed, envy, hoarding, and the like are quite antagonistic to the spiritual health of the individual, for they are quite antagonistic to the fluid and reciprocal nature of the spiritual universe. The encouragement of this card, then, is for you to cultivate right relationship with giving and receiving as a return to cooperation with the reciprocal and fluid universe in which we live. Giving rightly, you see, is just another practice of spiritual health. This moment, expressed through one of the vehicles on your screen, if you are a member of our physical sanctuary, there is a bowl in the foyer for your convenience. This is a moment of spiritual practice. On behalf of your board of trustees, your leaders, on behalf of each other, on behalf even of those yet to come, thank you for your support of Unity in Lynnwood. There are bullet points on the back of the card. Today I offer one that says, understand, this is the invitation here, understand your giving as energy. Understand your giving as energy, and always, always, always give love. Give love.
There were wind chimes in the window, bells inside the clock, an organ in the corner, and tunes in the music box. We sang while we were cooking or working in the yard. We sang although our lives were really hard. There was music in my mother's house. There was music all around. There was music in my mother's house, and my heart still fills full with the sound. She taught us all piano, though my sister had the ear. She could play the harmony to any tune she'd hear. Now I don't claim much talent, but I've always loved to play, and I guess I will until my dying day. There was music in my mother's house. There was music all around. There was music in my mother's house, and my heart still fills full with the sound. It all comes back so clearly, although I'm far away. She gave me the kind of gift I love to give away. And when my mother died and she'd sung her last song, we sat in the living room singing all night long, singing la la la, la la, singing the front porch songs, singing the old torch songs, la la la, la la, singing the hymns to send her home. There was music in my mother's house. There was music all around. There was music in my mother's house, and my heart still fills full with the sound.
Mother's Day. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your patience. I'm sure that looks very nice to the at-home audience. Right there. If you are new to Unity, if you are newer to Unity, please notice the cards in the chair backs in front of you. They are offered for your convenience. Visit the gift shop for a daily word. It is one of Unity's inspirational daily magazines that is free to you. We have a number of activities that are available to you. Register for all by visiting Unity in Lynnwood's website, which is unityinlynnwood.org. Click on calendar, visit the event of your choice, and find the registration link therein. Good grief, second and fourth Thursdays. I'm just glad you heard that as well. Second and fourth Thursdays, 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock p.m. respectively. We have a frame in the Western world in which grief has to do with the loss of a being. I would invite you into a wider frame. When we experience significant change, sometimes we can benefit from understanding the dynamics of grief. Consider joining Barbara and Marge and Nancy in these 90-minute confidential extending from Maple to the highway. We seek to assemble a team of 3 or 4 willing people on the 28th of May, starting around 10 o'clock in the morning. If you would like to participate, this is largely a work alone sort of vibe, but you can wave at each other down the street if you like. Please register. Visit the calendar page and click. Again, for the second week, thank you. Masks are now optional at UIL gatherings and events. For those requiring a mask for any reason and desiring a Sunday morning service with masks required, we happily offer a 9 o'clock gathering. All are welcomed. And town hall, informal town hall, the second informal town hall. Your Board of Trustees invites you into positive and productive conversation following the 11 o'clock service next Sunday. We speak of higher consciousness, don't we? I think it falls in the same category as love. We speak of love, and yet I think words such as higher consciousness and love deserve a little bit of drilling down from time to time. What is love? What is love? I could ask any number of parents in this room to define love, and I know I would come up with some different answers. Higher consciousness, higher consciousness. It is my opinion, it is my suggestion that each of the world's faith traditions points to something beyond itself. The Christian tradition at its core is not in the business of making more Christians. The Taoist tradition at its core is not in the business of making more Taoists. Each of the world's authentic faith traditions points to something beyond itself, and it has to do with this thing called consciousness. And I believe when we read the teachings of the so-called enlightened beings of our traditions, we see these enlightened beings pointing. They're pointing. They're not saying, worship me, but they're pointing. And so if we entertain a conversation about higher consciousness, and if we're willing to drill down a little bit, here's what I think it does. Are you ready? Take a deep breath. I think higher consciousness is evidenced in the deep sense of our oneness. I think it is evidenced when we look around a room like this and we have a deep sense that we're made of the same stuff. I think we're having an experience of higher consciousness. I think higher consciousness says that you are more than you thought you were. Higher consciousness says we are one and you are more. And this is evidenced as an awakening to compassion. Is higher consciousness at work in your life? Do you have a sense of compassion? Do you have a sense of your harmony with another human? This is a good place to practice. This is a good place to practice. Just look around the room until that sense of unity awakens. That's what I think higher consciousness does. It says that you are more and that we are one. It gives rise to a gentler, kinder way of being. Oh my goodness. What a rant he's on this morning. Take a deep breath with me then, and let us entertain what we might call a higher consciousness. Let's entertain the possibility that we are indeed being pointed towards something. Let's close our time together by entertaining the wonder of beingness. The rich privilege of simply being here, the rich privilege of simply being. The rich honor of being an emanation of that which is limitless, that which is beyond time, that which transcends space, has chosen to show up as you, as those you love, as those in this very room, and even more yet to come. How wondrous is that? Limitless life, delighting in form. Allow this remembering, such as it is, allow this remembering not to be abandoned as we step forth into our earthly lives, but allow it to become the very lens through which we now perceive each other, the very lens through which we perceive all expressed form. Let it be a higher way of seeing. Let it be a nobler way of expecting. Let it be a perception that unifies, that elevates, and that heals. Let it be that. And let us close our time of remembering together, as we always do, with sung words of blessing, with sung words of farewell.
May the long time sun shine upon you